Teenagers saw a girl and her dad acting strangely. They decided to follow them because they thought something was not right. When you see someone in trouble, there are 3 things you can do: ignore it and walk away like you didn't see it, go get help, or step in and help. People often hope they wouldn't just walk away, but in reality, we can't be sure how we'd react in a dangerous situation. But for these 4 Canadian teenagers, ignoring the problem was never a choice. When they had a feeling that something was wrong, they didn't hesitate to step in and help. These young teens didn't expect to be taken for a ride like they were, but when push came to shove, their instincts perked up like wildfire, and the rest was history. It was a usual night at the impromptu skate park. 4 Canadian teens were having a good time practicing in the underground parking garage, but it was getting late, and the boys had to head home soon. However, they noticed something suspicious happening on the streets of Calgary that stopped them in their tracks. A well-dressed man and an upset 15-year-old girl were walking across the parking garage, but the man was forcefully carrying the irate teenager through the underground lot. However, that wasn't the behavior that alerted the teens. It was something else about the girl that quickly made them very suspicious. One of the teens, Carson Wright, said she was screaming and yelling. She just wanted to be out of there. She was all stuffed up and dirty. That was enough to make the boys suspicious, so the 4 teens decided to walk up to the man and demand an explanation. What was with this dude? The man told the concerned teens that he was the girl's dad, and the boys assumed he had probably found her doing something a little illegal, like underage 20. The young woman didn't scream for help or contradict the older man, so they backed up. However, something wasn't quite right with the situation. It was getting late in Calgary, and the boys needed to make their way home. So they packed up their skateboards and other items and headed home. Not once did they doubt the man's explanation, especially since the girl didn't suggest that he was lying. But the boys couldn't shake off that eerie feeling that something was wrong. The boys felt uneasy as they walked out of the underground parking lot. How could they be 100% certain that the man was telling the truth? The girl was dirty and resistant. What might she have been doing in the parking lot that late at night? Maybe they were just looking for their car. The boys weren't quite so sure anymore. The teens hadn't bought the man's story, at least not entirely. But as Wright said, they didn't want to really think the worst in somebody like that. You don't want that situation to be real, so you brush it off and hope for the best. However, their combined consciences were weighing on them. They decided to head back to make sure everything was okay. They rushed into the Calgary underground parking lot. Working together, they figured out where the man and the teenage girl had gone. But when they finally tracked them down, they were overwhelmed with disgust. The 4 teens were frozen by the sight of what the man was doing with the teen girl. Not one of the boys snapped out of it. They didn't know what to do. But then the boys snapped out of their shocked state and tried to separate them. The man was extremely upset by their intrusion, and the man's attempts had failed. So he tried leaving the parking garage. He pushed me aggressively out of the way, kind of like, "Just give me the smile. I can do this. You can't do anything about it," claimed one of the teens. As he and his friends followed the man, that's when the man reacted. But Jason sued, and the boys were on the man's team. But one of the teens stuck around to look after the girl, and the other 3 boys trailed the man as he made his way back into the streets of Calgary. When the man realized he was being followed, he decided to use the boys' skateboards to fight them off. Fortunately, the cops arrived and took him into custody before he could harm the teenage boys. Then, the 3 went back to check on the girl on their phone. Once they realized she was okay, the boys went home. They had no idea how grateful the city would be to them. The police chief constable, Roger Chafin, tried calling the boys. He wanted to thank them for their heroism, but the boys thought they were in trouble for getting into a scuffle with the man. Eventually, the police chief was able to explain his intentions, and the boys were super supportive and touched by the officer's kind gesture. The 4 boys were invited to the Chief Award Gala to receive recognition for their service to the city of Calgary and for saving the young girl's life. The teens humbly claimed that they did what they hoped anyone would have done in their place, and going forward, they intend to follow their gut instinct. Isn't it interesting? When we hear incredible stories like these, we often think to ourselves, "Oh, that could never happen to us." When we see people taking big risks on TV, we say, "Well, that's not something I would do." But the reality is, life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. Subscribe for more stories like this. Thank you.